described as living in the hands of God. And they believed that after you died, because of that fidelity to God's word while on this earth, you remained in the hands of God. And as the reading will say, no torment shall touch you. So there is life after death for the Jews even at that time. Not the same as our resurrection, but nonetheless some sort of life based on the fidelity to God's word. So as we listen to this reading, let us remind ourselves that Ernesto lived his life in the hands of God. He was faithful to God's word. And now he remains in the hands of God even after he has died. So let's do our first reading.
A reading from the Book of Wisdom, chapter 3, section 1 through 8. The souls of the righteous are in hand of God, and no torment shall touch them. They seem, in the very the foolish, to be dead, and their passing away was thought an affliction, and their going forth from us, utter destruction. But they are in peace, for if to others indeed they seem punished, yet is their hope full of immortality. Chastise a little, they shall be greatly blessed, because God tried them and found them worthy of himself. As gold in the furnace, he proved them, and as sacrificial offerings, he took them to himself. In the time of their judgment, they shall shine dark about as sparks through stubble. They shall judge nations and rule over peoples, and the Lord shall be their king forever. The word of the Lord. I didn't want this day to happen, that so soon we will be burying my grandfather. I felt like I couldn't do it. My nana and my grandma told me not to cry. So if you don't know me, my name is Rosalind Nazareno Pilo, but my grandfather calls me this way. Roslyn, di na pagkain. He called me like that when we had our late night snack together. I wanted to start by telling you all that I appreciate you guys for being here. To all the people that sent their condolences, love, concernings, and support from around the world. He always cared about me. He always cared about everybody in the family. Of 1998, he had a freak accident of falling down from fixing the roof of his house. He ended up having a heart attack. He was rushed to the hospital. There he was pronounced dead by the doctor. One of my uncles punched the wall of the hospital room of so much pain he was dealing with. My grandmother wept and prayed for him back to her arms that they needed him. Over a few minutes, he gasped for air. It wasn't a miracle. It was like a reincarnation in front of your own two eyes. The doctor was called back in and could never believe it. It was just a miracle. Later on that year, I came along. My mother was giving birth to me, and my grandfather was there for her throughout the whole labor. He stayed put even if my grandmother asked him to leave the room. But he never left her. He waited till I was born. He was the first one to hold me. He just couldn't handle the love he felt. Just in an instance, even not knowing each other, he just knew he loved me so much. I have lived with him for 21 years and a half. He stepped up and raised me. On December 2020, he asked me to pursue my dreams of what I used to dream of, is becoming a U.S. Army soldier. Just like him when I was 4 years old, till I was 12 years old. I always dreamt that. I told him I gave that up long ago, and if I was to pursue it, I'd leave him and Nane behind. He was gonna be there for almost 24/7 with them. He realized and felt touched. Tatay and Nane relied on Ninong, Romel, and I a lot. They didn't want to bother the other siblings because they know you guys are busy and you guys have a family too. I don't want this day to be all about sadness and too much grieving, and that's what Tatay would have wanted. When I was 4 years old, my grandfather told me the story of where Elvis Presley was buried. I think all his kids know this story. When I was 12 years old, we were in the car. My uncle godfather, Romel, was driving. My grandfather was at the passenger seat up front, and my grandmother and I were at the back. We came from Newark, California. We were driving back home to Long Beach and passed by the cemetery that Grandpa pointed out that Elvis Presley was recited at. I was so excited or enthusiastic and said, "Hey, that's where Elvis Presley was buried." My grandpa immediately turned red. He blushed out and looking at me and my grandmother, and they were giggling, covering their smile. I saw the sign titling Pet Cemetery. My grandpa was smiling the whole time. It was just a lie. At the serious note, I wanted to say before Tatay died, he always cried to me. He told me that he is gone. When he is gone, he wanted us family to love one another, to always love one another, because in the end, we only have each other. He opened up a lot of secrets and stories to me. He trusted me the way I trusted him. If he was your shoulder to cry on, but I was one of his shoulder to cry on, besides Nanay, Lolo Sammy, and a few other elder relatives and friends. I hated seeing him cry. I hated seeing him hurt, and he did not knew that I was hurting for him too. I'd help him ease the pain away by telling him jokes or telling him I'll buy him new clothes, new shoes again, jewelries, or give him food or money to feel better. But the things we say, buying him stuff, is not enough. You can't bring stuff to your gravesite. When you pass away, that's nothing. So every time my grandfather cried and wailed, some people did not give him a chance to prove himself, to the point he had his own insecurity. He had believed he didn't do his best. I told him, but you gave your best. He'd always cry and believe and tell that he wished he had given me a better life. I told him this is the best life. I could never ask for more for having an amazing, hard-working grandfather. I would never replace these memories. I would never replace my life. I would never, ever replace him. I told him that a simple life was fine as long as he still was with us. That was the only thing that mattered to me. I wanted to share a message that Tatay wanted to say a month and a half ago before he passed away. To Ate Rachel, my cousin, Tatay was and still is so proud of you. He said that you are an amazing artist, that you've gone so far. You progressed a lot as the time went by. And as he aged, he wanted to see you in another fashion show. He wanted to be there to support you and just be there for you. And now he will still be there to root you, to cheer for you, and to protect you. He had missed you and loved you so much. And he was so proud of everybody. Ate Trisha, Justin, myself, Jeremy, everybody. He was proud of all his children as well. He was a good father. My grandfather had a creative imagination. He'd make anything possible. He was a work-driven man, so he could provide for his family. He'd take and do any job you can imagine. This man's work history is longer than my resume of 8 jobs at 22. He probably had 15 work experience by my age. He started young. He was dedicated and passionate about his works, but it won't be all that without being inspired to work more and smarter each and every day for his family. He went to Japan, Singapore, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, and passed by Cambodia and Laos to work abroad. He was a U.S. Army veteran, a contractor, electrician, mechanic, and so much more he can do. He showed me how to do these jobs. He loved and cared for all of us. He treated his friends like a family as well. He was a good friend, a loyal friend. And loyalty and devotion is everything. I remember when I was a little girl, I'd run after him to give him a kiss before he left to work or hung out with his friends. And sadly, the last time I ran to him was when he was at his weakest and had fallen down. I remember that day till now. My grandmother crying out in worry of my grandfather outside near our home. I was glad I heard her after I had left the windows open. I rushed to put on my pants, a mask on, and slippers. Probably the fastest pace I ever been. My heart just dropped seeing him half on the ground from his walker where he was sitting on. Just imagining how my grandmother had a hard time, struggled to make sure he got to the second floor with her. My poor grandpa. It's like he couldn't recognize me anymore. He was unresponsive. My grandmother didn't know what to do. I tried lifting him over and over and over. I didn't want to stop. I even asked him to please help me out, that him and I will do this together. I wish I had held him longer. I wish I had hugged him tighter. I had to take in my tears back to help my grandma and him so we can all get home. But it felt like we wasn't gonna be able to anymore. My grandmother and I didn't want to give up, but we knew we had to call for help. We called the paramedics for assistance. They were trying to communicate with him, but he was still unresponsive until he got himself together a little. They asked him his name. He responded after the 3rd time. His age, he responded after the 5th time, and where he was. He never responded. My heart was breaking. My grandmother was worrying. She felt nervous while I was being questioned if it was daily for him to be like that. But I'd never seen him that weak and exhausted after his dialysis. It was too much. Later on, they asked me if I wanted him to be sent to the hospital. I replied no. Can I try asking my grandpa? I proceeded to ask him over and over when I knew the answer is no. Because I remember back in 2019, the last time when he was in the hospital, he had told my grandma and I that he never wanted to be hospitalized ever again. Until this day, I felt so guilty of my grandpa's passing. I wanted him to live longer. I wanted him to see me get married and have kids. I wanted my kids to be able to meet him. I even told him that I was gonna name my first son after him, and he said, but it's an old name. It didn't matter to me. I told him if I had twin girls, it's gonna be Esty and Lita, because her name is Estelita. And he laughed because it's half of my grandmother's name. He's the man that stepped up to become my father and raised me well. He taught me how to survive. He taught me how to build, how to fix stuff, how to swim, how to help my grandmother, how to sacrifice for family, how to manage my time along with grandma, how to cook, how to make so many things, how to craft, how to fix a car, how to be a better version of myself. He was my inspiration, my idol. He was a good man. He helped out many homeless people and people in need. He was a good role model. He was a good father and a grandfather. But especially, he was my best friend, my tatay. After a few minutes of asking, he finally responded, "Kung yun ang magkakabuti sa akin, if that will be a better decision for me." Well, he nodded his head yes. I wanted to cry because I wanted him home. We wanted him home. I wish I never got him taken away. I wanted to stop, but you can never take back the past, and it could have been the worst way. We were afraid to lose him in our arms since we had no oxygen tank. We really had no choice, but I wish I had never let him go. The house is not complete without him. I wanted to put the world in both of his and my grandmother's hand. I wanted to give them everything, but things are not as important as him. He is special to me because he is important to me. In the end, after his passing, my grandmother told me to accept and let him go. If you love somebody, then let them go, right? I was one of the last people that he got to talk to, my grandmother and I. But I was the last person to even hug him. There is no single battle that this man won't fight. To me, there is no single fight that he lost. He gave way, he showed way. He gave opportunities, he gave hope, and he showed hope. He gave life to his family. He was and will always be the greatest dad that we will ever have. But now that you left us, I felt that in my dreams we were shattered. Crushed because you are part of my dreams. That nothing will even matter anymore. Because you aren't here with us anymore. But no, I stay strong because I know that's what he would wanted for me. For us to be. I'll be strong to stand back up on my feet. To prove you that one day I will make your dreams come true. And I will be standing right in front of it while I imagine that you are also there to see what we have done together. I will just imagine how proud you are because in my dreams there will always be you in it. I love you so much, Tatay. So sorry.
Don't forget that. Don't forget that.
Okay, can we have the sons come forward? Can we have the sons come forward? Slowly. Slowly close it.
Slowly. Okay, let's go, Kuya. Okay, bring it down now. Can you kindly tell him?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. To nanay. Aww.
Picture you. Happy birthday.
Only you can make this world seem right. Only you can make the darkness bright. Only you and you alone can thrill me like you do, and fill my heart with love for only you. Oh yes, I'm the great pretender, just laughing and gay like a clown. I seem to be what I'm not, you see. I'm wearing my heart like a crown, pretending that you're still around.